Have you ever found yourself just staring at a simple task and your brain absolutely refuses to engage? And that's when the internal monologue starts, right? And it's usually pretty harsh. It's a feeling so many of us know all too well, but it's also deeply misunderstood. So today, let's get into what's really going on.
This question, this one right here, it just loops in your head, doesn't it? Why can't I just do it? You start thinking, I used to be able to handle this, or even worse, wow, I must just be lazy. It's such a frustrating and lonely place to be stuck in.
Okay, but what if we just flip that script for a second? Let's start with this absolute truth. You are not lazy. This has nothing to do with a lack of willpower or motivation. It's about capacity. Your nervous system is sending out a massive SOS signal that it is completely overwhelmed.
And this right here is probably the most important thing to grasp from the get-go. When your brain and your body have been pushed way past their limits for way too long, they don't just try harder. They shut down. And that's not you failing, that is a biological protective mechanism kicking in.
So let's actually put a name to this experience because it has one. We're talking about autistic burnout. And it is a state of total, all-encompassing exhaustion that goes so much deeper than just feeling tired.
So what does that actually mean? Well, it's this profound exhaustion that hits you on every level, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And it all stems from chronic, long-term stress. You know, the kind of stress that comes from the constant effort of masking, or navigating sensory overload, or just trying to meet expectations in a world that often isn't built for neurodiversity.
And in day-to-day life, what does that feel like? Well, it can mean suddenly losing skills you've had for years. It can feel like lights are way too bright and sounds are way too loud. It's that bone-deep fatigue that no amount of sleep can seem to touch. It's that paralysis you feel when you're just trying to start a simple task. And it's that feeling of being completely emotionally overwhelmed, or just shut down. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, the actual science behind this feeling. See, this isn't just in your head, it is a full-body, biological process. So let's look at what's happening when your nervous system hits its absolute limit.
So what is actually going on inside of you when you feel this way? How do you go from feeling totally capable one day to feeling completely and utterly stuck the next? Well, it all has to do with how our bodies are wired to respond to stress.
There's a concept called polyvagal theory that gives us a fantastic roadmap for this. Just think of your nervous system as having three main gears. First, you've got your regulated state. That's when you feel safe, connected, and you can think clearly. Then, if a stressor pops up, you shift into the second gear, fight or flight. You're activated, you're anxious, you're on high alert.
But here's the kicker. What happens when you're stuck in that high-stress fight-or-flight mode for too long? Your system literally can't sustain it. It can't keep running that hot. So it shifts into the third gear, shutdown. This is the freeze response. It's where you feel exhausted, numb, disconnected. Burnout is that state of shutdown.
I love this quote because it perfectly illustrates what's happening. It is not a conscious choice. Your body, your entire system basically says, nope, we cannot keep going like this, and it slams on the emergency brake to prevent more damage. That sudden, jarring stop, that feeling of being totally unable to move forward, that is the emergency brake.
And this is exactly why task paralysis feels so different from regular old procrastination. Procrastination, at its core, is a choice. You're actively choosing to delay something. But task paralysis, that's when the part of your brain in charge of planning and starting things is just so overloaded that it can't engage. Your brain isn't refusing, it's just plain out of resources.
Okay, so we get the what and the why. But now what? How do we even start to recover? How in the world do you begin to refill a tank that feels completely bone dry? Let's get into some really practical tools.
The number one concept for recovery is something called energy budgeting. Seriously, start thinking of your daily energy like money in a bank account. You only have a certain amount each day. Some tasks are cheap, but others are incredibly expensive. Burnout is what happens when you're deep in energy debt and your account is majorly overdrawn.
So, how do you actually budget your energy? Well, first, get real with your to-do list. Plan for maybe 1 to 3 priority items in a day, not 20. Then, intentionally schedule recovery time, especially after those big, energy-draining activities. It also helps to actually track what drains your battery versus what recharges it, so you can make smarter choices.
Now, for those moments when you're facing that wall of task paralysis, even a small task can feel like Mount Everest. This is where the tiny start method is a total game changer. The entire goal is to make the very first step so ridiculously small that it feels almost silly not to do it.
For example, the task due assignment is huge. It's vague. That's a mountain. But open the document? That's it. That's the whole task. Just open the document. Clean the room becomes pick up one sock. It just lowers that barrier to getting started. And sometimes that tiny momentum is all you need to break the paralysis.
Okay, what if you need something in this exact moment, like right now as you're listening? If you're feeling that wave of overwhelm starting to build, you can try a sensory reset to help your nervous system find its footing again.
Just run through this simple checklist in your head. Ask yourself, am I too hot, too cold? Is this room too bright or too loud? Is there something I can use for a little deep pressure, like a weighted blanket or even just a heavy hoodie? Or can I just get up and move to a quieter, darker space for 5 minutes? These small tweaks can make a massive difference.
You know, recovery isn't just about managing your energy. It's also about healing your relationship with yourself. Because burnout can really erode your self-trust. It can make you feel like you can't rely on yourself. So let's talk about rebuilding that trust through a totally new way of thinking. Just look at how a simple shift in your internal language can change everything. Instead of thinking, I'm lazy, try, my nervous system is overwhelmed. Swap out that I should be able to do this for, this is hard right now, and that's okay, it's valid. And please, trade, I just need more discipline for, I need support, not more pressure. This isn't about making excuses, it's about being accurate and having some compassion for yourself.
And let's bring it all the way back to that core message. Let it really sink in. Your system did not fail you. It did exactly what it was designed to do when it was faced with completely unsustainable demands. It protected you.
Rebuilding that trust happens one tiny step at a time. Keep the promises you make to yourself small and actually achievable. Celebrate the fact that you opened the document, not that you finished the whole paper. And practice, and I mean really practice, allowing yourself to rest without that nasty voice of guilt chiming in.
And we're going to end on this, because this is what it all comes down to. This journey isn't about learning to push through harder or proving your worth by burning yourself to the ground. It's about recognizing your limits and honoring what you need. Because you deserve support, you deserve rest, and you absolutely deserve to build a life that actually works for you, not against you.